Hi.
Tell me about the footage. Hello.
Hello. I only have a few on my phone. There's a lot. I think there's 7 DVDs.
Well, sure, you're the first baby.
I am the first baby.
Firstborn privilege.
Yes. It's really interesting because the first DVD I looked at, it starts on my first birthday. And then it goes until I'm about to turn 2.
Mm-hmm.
And my babbles are really interesting because, and I Googled this, I know about this beforehand, but my babbles don't have any inflection in them or any turn taking. And I'm also not responding to my parents at all. I was not yet diagnosed.
This was when you were 2. How old are you at this point?
I am a year and 3 months in this video. I think I want the camera.
Want to stand up again?
Is this for 5 minutes?
No, stand up. Stand up.
I'm not standing up.
No. I like that you paused to let him talk, though. You're like, you understand the flow of the conversation. You're just like, I'm not interested.
I have so much to say.
Yeah.
It's just me walking back and forth.
To be fair, I don't think I would know. Based off of those babbles, to me, they seem normal.
Right.
Look at Daddy.
No.
But then I do.
Yeah, but you do it on your own.
I do.
Like, you turn your head and you see him there out of the corner of your eye, and then you keep...
But he's probably like, oh, she heard me.
She's just, like, processing.
Yeah. But then there's another... I'm going to show you one more because it's really interesting. This is me after being diagnosed. And you can see my parents turn into speech therapy mode. There's captions on this.
Okay. How old are you? You're 3?
I'm about to turn 2.
Oh, okay.
Hi, baby.
Your hair. Do you have hearing aids in?
Yeah.
Is that a shoe? Kara, what's this?
They were apparently told to talk to me constantly so I can, like, figure out what sounds I'm hearing.
Do you remember how much hearing you had with the hearing aids?
No, I don't remember.
Huh.
It's fascinating, though, because I'm not getting it. I'm playing in my mom's closet.
Do you think this was because you couldn't hear them at all, or do you think at this point you had established, like, I don't actually have to listen to them, so this doesn't matter?
I don't think I heard. But then I do look. I don't know what she's showing me.
I love your mom.
Shoe?
You said bye. The
At
vest
this
that
age...
you're wearing,
Yeah.
is that connected to the hearing aids?
Yeah, it's called a transistor, I think.
Okay.
It was like an old-fashioned way of, like, being able to adjust the volume and whatnot. Because I couldn't verbalize if it was too loud or uncomfortable.
Oh, so you could do it yourself.
Or my parents could, or the
Right.
teachers at school. At this point, typical babies will have like 50 to 100 words in their vocabulary. And as you can see, I'm not really saying much.
You might not have had that many words as a baby, but you have a lot of words now. Should we get right to it?
I do have a lot of words right now.
Also, guys, ASMR moment. We both have Diet Cokes right now.
From McDonald's.
So, sorry if you're hearing that in the background, but not that sorry.
Season 1, episode 29, The Trial, which aired October 15, 2012.
I am gonna admit, I kind of forgot that whole trial thing was going on. There was just so much else happening.
Yeah, like pedophilia.
Yeah, and just like, we were at court for other reasons.
Yes.
Angela's immigration stuff. I just kind of like forgot. So
So,
when I
yeah.
was like, the trial ran a blank for me.
Yeah. It is a real painting. It's by Sidney Nolan, and I think it was painted in 1978. It depicts a famous outlaw named Ned Kelly on trial, but it's called that because we're on trial.
Yeah. It's
Nothing
not
more.
much to read into there, to be
No.
honest. Well, Bae is kind of on trial.
She's the outlaw.
And Daphne is having a crime committed onto her.
That is true.
So, lots of court stuff.
We start off with Bae at the car wash. She gets a call from Zara, who still doesn't have the money.
Yeah.
That sucks.
And Bae is like, don't worry about it. I'll figure something out. Don't tell her to not worry about it.
She should worry about it.
She should be worried about it.
Yeah, Zara should be worried.
Because her saying that, I was like, girl, now she's not even going to try to get you anything back.
At the end, she gets $78.
Yeah.
Is she volunteering at the library? I'm confused.
I'm confused as well.
She's not paying rent.
Right. Library jobs are good jobs.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bae is also not being very comforting to Travis in this moment when she sees him.
I know. Does he whip out some of his own money, or is that the money he's adding up?
It's money he's adding up,
Okay.
thankfully. Yeah, he's not trying to...
That's true. He's not getting involved. He's just
No.
like, please fill up the safe again.
Yeah, Bae shows up and she's like, here's $270.
Yeah, she got some from Toby, and the rest is hers.
The rest is a 20 that she found in her pants.
Oh my god, yeah.
So she got $250 from Toby and then $20 of her own money. And Travis is like, what the fuck? And she's like, no, it's gonna be fine, don't worry.
But John is making the bank deposit tomorrow.
Yeah. So
We need this by tomorrow, or else
Yeah.
I will be losing my job. He will be firing me.
yeah, Travis is really stressed and Bae's just kind of like, yeah, got it, and leaves.
We're at the guest house. Melody and Regina are having girl talk about Chef Jeff.
I would assume about their mutual breakups because Regina has just been dumped as well.
Right, by Patrick.
Who we don't see in this episode. So maybe you were right last episode to say that was the end of him.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're right.
Also, Simcom alert, because Regina is speaking out loud to a deaf person, and there's just the two of them in the room. I know I say this every episode, but it baffles me.
She can't this time. Her
I know
wrist.
her wrist.
Her wrist.
She has another hand. It's fine.
I think that, I don't know if she said this already or if they say it later, that like she's not allowed to use that one in case the carpal tunnel starts in that hand. Something a little bit confusing is that she's still working
As a hairstylist?
as a hairstylist. I obviously, again, caveat that this is Constance Marie's actual problem in real life. But if I were Regina, I would rather find a new line of work to give my hands a rest that way and keep the language that I use to communicate with my daughter in. I don't know, just my opinion.
Hot take.
Anyway, they're chatting and Melody's talking about Chef Jeff and the fact that they're broken up, and she's like, obviously I didn't expect it to turn into a relationship. Then she's like, and it's so embarrassing, I left my sunglasses there and he told me he would drop them off in the mailbox, which is like humiliating. Timeline check. Later on in this episode, Melody's gonna say that her and Jeff were sleeping together for almost a month.
Okay.
So it was not just a one-night stand. It just gets ickier and ickier. Like, not that it wasn't already icky that they slept together once, but they were actively sleeping together. Multiple times. They've both been to each other's places.
Right.
When the thing with Daphne started up.
Ugh.
Because he did not end things with Melody until after he and Daphne kissed in the kitchen.
Yes.
Even though we saw him take, like, a step back at the fundraiser.
It seems like this would happen yesterday.
Yeah.
It's
The way that Melody is reacting makes me think that there was, like, true. It wasn't just sex. Like, they were, like, hanging out at each other's places and stuff.
Yeah, and Regina says, that sucks, but at least now you're not dating a guy that Daphne has a crush on.
Yeah.
And this is news to Melody.
Yes. And Melody's like, oh my God. And Regina's like, I shouldn't have even said anything. It doesn't matter. And Melody's freaked out.
She's like, well, now I feel 80.
So then cut to Chef Jeff and Daphne are out on their food truck date.
Chef Jeff has ordered chapulines, which are fried grasshoppers.
And Daphne is giving him crap about it. And he's like, they're having like a flirty back and forth where he's like, come on, try one. First time I've agreed with Chef Jeff.
Me too.
Outright. Him saying shrimps are the bugs of the ocean.
Oh, I was going to agree about, like, they're a great source of protein, and your mind is closed because you're not used to eating that.
True. And I'm going to keep my mind closed.
Yeah.
Because my mind isn't even open to shrimp. Shrimp are the roaches of the ocean.
And the Jews agree.
And I wouldn't eat roaches either. I personally wouldn't eat either just because their spindly long legs really freak me out. I think I have like a phobia because that's my problem with spiders too. Like any bug with like really long skinny legs, like just makes my skin crawl.
You must hate daddy long legs.
I try to leave spiders alone.
I know, me too.
But I am so scared of them. So it's like a real sacrifice on my part. But I don't even try to take them outside because, you know, if you take them outside, they die.
Really?
Spiders can't regulate their body temperature that fast. So if you, what I will do when I'm at my parents' place, because they have like a guest garage space, I will take them from the main house, put them in the guest garage space where my father sleeps because he doesn't care about the spiders. But I will no longer just like put a spider outside because that's sentencing it to death.
Oh, the more you know. Anyway, Daphne is disgusted by the grasshoppers at first, but then she tries it and she likes it.
She's like, I'm an open-minded woman. And Chef Jeff says, just one of the many things I love about you. Ugh.
We're going to have to add another content warning into this episode, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Along with a note saying, please do not scrape this podcast for AI training, because we are pretty sure our podcast maybe ended up on some nefarious sites offering up our audio for podcast training, unless we suddenly have a new fan base.
In Iraq? Yeah.
Yeah.
Then that'd be great.
And in that case, shout out to you guys and welcome. We're happy you're here. But
Yeah.
I don't know that this show aired there.
Who's to say?
Who's to say, really? So, yeah. Please don't use this for AI. Please and thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Angela's back.
He's home. He arrives at the guest house. Regina tells him she and Patrick broke up.
And his eyes light up.
Yes. Also, he got fired.
He quit, but he got, yeah.
And
Shocker.
Regina makes it sound like this is very typical.
I'm not surprised.
Me neither. It's just some, like, stupid argument between the couple he was working for and...
Yeah, they wanted 2 different types of wood for the cabinets.
Yeah.
And Angelo listened to the woman, and then the husband got mad. Do we think that maybe he was actually mad because Angelo and the woman had a little flirtation going on?
I bet he was flirting with her.
I agree. Especially because he was like, I can't remember the husband's name. Remember in the last episode? Anyway, yeah, he's back, and he's like, will you come support me at the trial? And Regina's like, no. But then, like,
guys,
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, spoiler alert, guys, she comes and supports him. Now we're in the church basement hangout jam space. New set unlocked, kind of.
Yeah, it has a stage and also a ping pong table.
Yeah.
I went to church growing up. It looks like a church basement.
Okay. And Emmett's there because he and Emmett and Nikki are all going to be in a band together. So they're practicing for the first time. And Emmett looks so cute when he signs to Toby. Are all the songs going to be about Jesus?
And Toby's like, just play. Nikki at first, though, was like, how can a deaf guy play drums?
I think important to include that. I was like, oh, brother, this again. But I think it's like,
Yeah.
it's nice to acknowledge any new person brought into that scenario is going to be a little bit ignorant.
Even Jesus-y people.
Yeah, even Jesus-y people.
Yeah.
And she's very nice about it. And then she's immediately like, oh, I was wrong. And she seems to like Emmett. So
Yeah. And the 3 of them take an official band selfie. And she goes, some sauce. Thank you.
You know why she keeps saying that, right?
Because that's going to be the band name.
Yeah. It's so bad.
And also because it's 2012.
It's so painful. Also, there definitely was already a band named Awesome Sauce in 2012. Back on this date, Chef
Yes.
Jeff and Daphne are walking, and Daphne's like trying to convince him to be more fun at work.
By playing music.
Right. I think this is like a bad
I didn't
road
even-
for her to go down. But then he's like, should we go back to my place for some gelato? And she's like, I don't know. And he's like, what? Don't want to have fun? Ugh. And I was like, wow, good for Daphne that she's like, I was thinking her hesitation was that she was feeling kind of weird about it.
Yeah.
But I think it's just that her stomach hurts from the grasshoppers.
Yes.
Because then they go inside.
But before they go inside, the camera pans to Daphne's car, which has a Carlton sticker on it.
Right.
Important for us to see.
So they go inside.
Yeah.
And
It's gelato time.
fig and goat cheese is the gelato flavor
Of course it
that
is.
he has prepared with 2 spoons. And he brings it over and she says, oh, I'm not over those crickets or grasshoppers yet. I can't. And he's like, totally fair. And then she's looking at a photo of him with his apprentice or with his mentor when he was an apprentice.
Yes.
And she's like, "Ugh, that's my dream to apprentice in France." And he's like, I would put in a good word for you. And she's like, what? He'd hate me. And then, Jeff grabs her arms and like pulls her in and is like, not everyone's going to be an idiot like I was. And then he goes and they start to kiss and it's gross and it made me very uncomfortable. And then I was like, Daphne looks really uncomfortable. Maybe she's finally realizing this is weird. And then, no, she pulls away and she's going to be sick. Not because she's kissing a middle-aged man and she's in high school, but because the grasshoppers hurt her stomach. So she runs to the bathroom to throw up. And Jeff is trying to talk to her through the wall and then is like, she can't hear me. And then the doorbell rings.
Yes. Melody stops by to retrieve her non-accidentally forgotten sunglasses. And Chef Jeff is like, oh shit. Actually, come on in, because you can't hear the vomiting. What if Daphne came out the door?
I know, this is a crazy plan. And then Melody pokes her head in, sees that he's got ice cream with 2 spoons, and is like, oh shit, he's on a date, I bet. Runs to flee to leave.
Runs out. She sees Daphne's car, and yet she doesn't run right back in
No.
to punch him in the face
That's crazy.
or call Regina.
My hot take is later on in the episode, Daphne comes by to pick up some of her schoolwork because she's missing some school days so that she can attend the trial.
Yes.
And Melody has a talk with her and is like, how are you doing? And Daphne's like, I'm fine. And Melody's like, let's talk about how you were mad at me about Chef Jeff. And Daphne's like, whatever, I don't want to talk about it. I want to go. Melody's like, stay here with me. Let me tell you about when I dated my college professor.
Yes.
He was 15 years older than me, and it was really fun at first. And then as we got further into things, my friends didn't get along with him. I couldn't get along with his friends. Our worlds couldn't mix, and it got more and more uncomfortable. Those things matter in a relationship. I think for Melody's role in Daphne's life, this was the best thing she could have done for Daphne. I also think Melody should have immediately driven to Regina and said, oh my God, go get your daughter.
Yeah.
But I do not think in that moment it was, I think if Melody had been like more, I don't know, like more imposing with her feelings, it would
wouldn't have
push
worked.
Daphne further away.
Right.
But I feel like even though Daphne's like, whatever, I gotta go, I feel like something's getting through to Daphne a little because Melody's like, listen. Daphne says, it's not my fault that he chose me, in response to Melody being like, I dated my college professor. Again, not the same thing. Melody was in college.
Right.
Still icky. That's kind of crazy. I feel like,
Still weird and bad, but
Still
she's
weird
at
and bad.
least over 18.
yeah. Melody's like, Daphne, don't be stupid. I am basically your mother.
Yes.
Who do you think I care about in this scenario? It's not him.
I like that she said that.
Yeah, I think Melody's doing the best thing that she can do is like planting a seed of like, hey, I've done this and I'm not going to like turn you into anyone. I think on the low, she still should have turned her in.
Me too.
But if it's already happening, I think this is like a good way to try to build up some protection for Daphne, I would hope.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
But then it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. I know. And then the next day, Bae and Daphne have a little chat in the morning, a little sisterly chat, where Daphne's like, I almost slept with Jeff last night, but then I was vomiting. Bae is like, oh yeah, I get it. Everyone's probably nervous their first time.
Nervous enough that you're vomiting?
But if you're vomiting
PSA.
before your first time, not even ever, just first time having sex with someone,
You're not ready.
your body probably does not want to have sex with that person, genuinely, unless you have like a condition that makes you vomit, or I guess food poisoning. But hey, if you're vomiting, let's just skip the sex. It's fine.
Yeah, vomiting's not sexy, guys.
No, for anyone involved. And if you have food poisoning, also don't have sex.
Yeah. But then Daphne goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm not a virgin.
Yeah. Which I thought we'd already kind of established.
I feel like
between
we
her
had
and
this
Bae.
conversation already.
Yeah, but they're about to have it again. And
I
then
know.
Bae is like, well, I'm a virgin. And Daphne's like, you and Emmett never. Bae's like, no. And Daphne goes,
Wow. Wow.
wow.
Wow. And Bae's like, that's enough.
Bae's so offended.
But Daphne goes, did I ruin everything with me and Chef Jeff? And Bae goes, no, I think you're good.
But earlier on in the conversation was like, I cannot believe you're going to sleep with that old man. That's crazy. Again, I also think Bae is doing what she can. Like, I don't think Bae being like, hey, don't do that is going to do anything.
No, it's not going to
So
help.
at least she can be a support system for when
I
Daphne
just-
inevitably crashes out from this trauma.
I just need someone to go, Regina.
Yeah,
Anyone.
anyone.
We're getting ready for the trial because
Yeah.
John and Catherine are sitting in the living room with Craig Tebby and then Angelo's lawyer.
Yes.
I think that's who that is.
But Angelo is not there.
Yes. It's suspicious that he's not there.
It is kind of suspicious. I chalked it up to he's just like flaky as hell because they're like, well, Angelo will be here tomorrow when he's back from his trip. And Catherine's like, he's back from his trip. He came in this morning.
And the lawyer's like, oh, yeah.
The lawyer's like, right.
And he's popping Tums.
Yeah. So
He's stressed.
he's stressed.
Bae is trying to get money for the safe by going up to Buckner students and lying that she's
is
throwing a party.
Kind of a good idea, actually.
Yeah. But no
To
one's
be like-
biting.
pitch in for this massive party I'm doing.
Yeah, it's a Halloween. She said Halloween party, so I'm assuming
What
it's.
time of year are we in?
Well, they just started school again, so it's
That
gotta
was
be
like,
October.
That was like 3 episodes ago, which could mean any period of time in this show. That could be 2 weeks ago. That could be 2 months ago.
not
Anyway,
helpful.
I guess Halloween's close enough that it makes sense. And Simone comes over and is like, so you hate Halloween, and I know that, so clearly something's going on. What do you need the money for? I'll just give it to you. I am fine with this.
I'm fine with taking your money.
Simone paying reparations, I think that's okay.
Yeah, Bay at first is like, I would never take money from you. And then she gets a text from Travis saying, like, I need the money now. And Bay's like, okay, actually, I will take the money from you.
Simone's like, I literally have my checkbook on me. Okay.
Who brings a checkbook to school? Rich people?
I think Simone's got some other stuff going on
Yeah, you're right.
at this point.
Daphne goes to the car wash to find Travis because he's been avoiding her at school.
Yeah, 'cause
And
she
she's like,
blew him
hey.
off at the open house.
Yeah, fair enough.
After feeding him
A taco.
a taco out of her hand.
And then go.
Hand feeding him a taco.
And then abandon him at this open house to be a chef.
Yeah. So, and he's like,
She apologizes.
yeah, and he's like, whatever, I don't really care about that anymore. I have bigger problems. And then he tells her,
Yeah, he's like, I'm so scared of losing my job because Bay took money from the safe.
I'm glad he told Daphne. I think that was the right thing to do.
Me too. Toby shows up to Nikki's place of work. She works at a froyo shop, which sounds really good.
I would be pissed if someone did this. He shows up to her place of work multiple times this episode
He does.
to chat. She's busy. She's cleaning down those froyo tables.
I know, it gets
Froyo is
messy.
Messy.
It gets very messy. He says, hey, I have a CD of songs I wrote that we can maybe use for the band. And she goes, ooh, actually, we can't play together anymore because my boyfriend, Jed, is jealous.
Ew.
Yeah. Can we wrap this plot up?
Yeah.
Toby later tells Emmett the band is over. And Emmett goes, because Jed is envious. Isn't that like one of the 7 deadly sins?
Very funny.
That was funny. Emmett was funny this episode.
Yeah. Emmett's back in our good graces.
Yeah.
I don't know that he deserves to be there, but he is.
Yeah. But Emmett seemed to really like the jam session they had earlier. So he's like, wait, no, I'm so excited to play again. Like, we can't quit.
He goes on, he has this great monologue about like all the things that have happened to bands that they've been through.
Like
bands' lead singers have died in plane crashes and
Def Leppard's drummer lost an arm, but he still played. And
yeah.
someone drowned in their own vomit and someone did this.
Yeah, and Toby's like, I think I understood part of that. I guess you're saying never give up. And Emmett's like, yeah, never give up. And so then Toby goes back to Nikki's place of work and is like, I actually don't think your boyfriend should get to decide who you're in a band with.
Also, I know what it's like to be cheated on, and I don't want to do that to anyone else. I just want to jam.
Yeah. So, and Nikki's like, okay, when's rehearsal? Their dynamic pisses me off so much. I don't know if you're watching Off Campus. And if you aren't, you don't need to start. It's so bad.
My
Sorry,
mom's
guys.
watching it.
That's tough. It's so bad. And the thing that pisses me off the most is that the main characters, like, main way of communicating that they have chemistry is, like, staring at each other and laughing. But they're laughing at nothing. So it feels like I'm watching, like, a increasingly insane SNL skit where they're just, like, throwing their heads back and laughing at absolutely nothing. And that feels similar to what's going on
Wow, okay.
here with Toby and Nikki. That, like, the two actors don't really have a chemistry. So instead they're just, she goes like, what time's rehearsal? And then it cuts to Toby and he's just like smiling and laughing at her.
And then he goes, awesome sauce.
Gross.
That's the end of that plot. That's
the
great.
end of that plot. I don't really care about this band. I'm sorry, Toby. I want them to give you something of substance that I'm interested in. I guess I'm excited for Emmett's redemption arc. I think they're using Toby to redeem Emmett in the fans' eyes.
That makes sense to me. I'll allow it.
The plotline's all about Jesus, and he was like really into forgiveness, famously. So I guess that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah. Bay has deposited that check immediately that Simone has written because she is running back to the car wash, ready to put this money back in the safe. And they do it like just in the nick of time before John comes in.
Yeah. She has to like run out
And
while
distract him.
Travis is doing it and be like, hey, what should I wear to court? And then they have a really sweet exchange. It like hurts that John is being so nice. He's like, and sweetie, I really appreciate you standing by us during all of this. I feel bad.
And so's Bay.
Yeah, Bay feels bad as well. Later on, John is like, something's wrong with the money, and immediately does assume it's Travis. I do like that he asks Daphne, does Travis have anything going on at home that would be making him act up or whatever? And Daphne's like, no, he's great, he's fine. Lying because she thinks that's like better. But I do like the implication that John is more concerned about Travis than about the money situation. But what happens with the money that tipped him off?
He said the money was in hundreds before, but now it's mainly in 20s.
Okay, that's what it is.
And he's worrying that Travis is borrowing money from the safe.
Right.
That's where his mind immediately goes, because Travis knows the combination to the safe. Right. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's trial time.
It's trial time.
Colleen Vandernoot, the lactation nurse who believes in the Antichrist,
Yeah.
is testifying. And at the same time, Bay and Daphne are sitting and arguing.
This scene was so good.
Daphne is saying to Bay, like, John knows, by the way.
Well, first she whispers it, and then they get shushed
And then,
by
like,
the court people, and it's like, yeah, duh,
signs.
sign. So thankfully they do.
Daphne says John knows something's up with the safe, and he thinks Travis took it. And if he gets fired, it's going to be all your fault. And Bay goes, well, look who's talking. And then Daphne goes, you tell John or I will.
And then Bay says out loud something about, like, at least I'm not sleeping with my 85-year-old boyfriend. Out loud in the court. I mean, she says it quiet, but still. Anyway, meanwhile, in the background, Colleen Vandernoot starts out giving a good testimony.
Yes.
And then
They go to recess.
they go to recess.
And during recess, Bay is like, shit, I feel guilty. She goes up to Catherine to tell her.
She doesn't feel guilty. She's like, Daphne's going to tell them if I don't tell them.
You're
She's
right.
being forced to confess.
Catherine immediately goes, I don't know what you see in Zara, why you felt like you had to get her out of jail. And Bay says, well, if I wasn't switched, she's who I would have been. Like, she's part Latina,
This
she's
pissed
an
me off
artist,
so bad.
she's from East Riverside. And Catherine says, if that's true, I don't like who you would have been, and now I like who you're becoming.
That's very harsh and a bit fucked up of Catherine, I think.
Yeah.
But Bay is so, like, weirdly delusional about who she would have been. Like, you wouldn't have been Zara.
No, it's odd. I don't know.
Anyway,
Cross-examination time. The recess is over. They go back to cross-examining Colleen. And the attorney asks her about the barcodes on the hospital bracelets to destroy her credibility. That's the main purpose.
yeah.
And she confesses that she believes that the barcodes are being used as a mark of the Antichrist.
They bring up this blog that she writes for that talks about the mark of the beast, and then they show her one of the barcode bracelets, and she's, like, visibly distressed to see it. I was so saddened thinking about, by today's standards of what we hear spouted from literal government officials these days, she doesn't even sound insane to me. Like, this isn't even the craziest conspiracy theory I've ever heard.
I know.
There are literal people in our government being like, yeah, the Antichrist is very real.
Mm-hmm.
So, spooky stuff. But in her outburst, she says, those poor Tiffany's were switched.
And she points to Bay and Daphne. And everyone is like, what?
And everyone's like, this girl's crazy.
Yeah. So, credibility destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
That's unfortunate. Not good for Craig Tebby and the other lawyer.
We're back at the Kenish house, and Catherine and Bay are both in the kitchen late at night.
She's giving Bay the cold shoulder.
Yeah, I
hate when parents do
I
this.
hate when parents do this. She's like, obviously she should be mad at Bay, but Bay is like trying to be like, do you want to split a pudding? And she's like passive aggressively being mad at her instead of just being like, no, I'm mad at you. And then finally she's like, I'm mad at you, and here's what's going to happen, which is the mature adult way to handle it. Do not give your child the semi-silent treatment. You're not a child yourself.
I know. She goes, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tell John not to fire Travis, and you will be working out the money that you took from the safe.
Fair. I think that's good.
Yeah, great plan. Now, we go to Maze, the restaurant.
Yeah.
Daphne,
Jeff is being, like, flirty with Daphne about cutting up some kind of bug, I don't know, in the kitchen. Is he being open about dating Daphne in the kitchen? It seems like yes.
It's so odd.
by the way he's acting around her.
Everyone else in the kitchen is deaf. But Daphne's like, can we chat? They go in the freezer to talk. And she's like, Melody knows. Melody knows about us. And Chef Jeff is like, that makes sense because she did stop at my place to get sunglasses while you were throwing up. And Daphne goes, well, shit, Melody's going to tell my mom.
The temperature in that freezer drops even further because she's like freaked about Melody and he's freaked about Melody. And then Daphne goes, I'm just scared because she's going to tell my mom. And the second he hears that, he's like, right, this is a child. And then she sees that in his face and is like, no, it's fine. I can handle my mom. And he's like, what we're doing is stupid. And we both know that. And it's easy for me to forget your age when it's just the two of us together.
I'm throwing up right now.
Ugh. I hate that they're trying to be like, no. For him, the age isn't part of it, guys. Like, for him, he's dating her despite the fact that she's 16, actually. So it's fine. So Daphne's, like, frantic and desperate. And he's, like, very, no, we need to stop. Because now I'm thinking about how I could get in trouble.
And Daphne's eyes well up.
Yeah, she's very upset.
They're touching hands. And then he drops his hands.
Yeah.
And walks away.
And then we're at the Kenish house, and John and Catherine are having a nice little moment where Catherine basically says, even if we lose this lawsuit or we get like a shitty settlement offer, I'm glad that we stuck to our guns. Mm-hmm. And they're comforting each other. And then...
Ding dong.
Ding dong. Craig Tebby's at the door, and he walks in. He says, remember how that crazy lady was talking about the Tiffany's? Well, turns out 3 months before Bay and Daphne were switched, 2 other babies named Tiffany were born on the same day at that hospital, and they were switched.
I cannot believe no one found out.
Right? I'm confused that there was no lawsuit back then. If this happened to me, I would be shouting it from the rooftops.
Do not give birth in this hospital.
I would be standing out in front of the entrance of the hospital. Like,
right.
Don't go here.
Yeah. But he's like, great news. The mother of one of the Tiffany babies will testify tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you're in luck. And then at the courthouse the next day, Craig Tebby comes over with one of the moms.
Yes, and Catherine pulls her aside to talk beforehand, and they have an insanely insensitive exchange. This mother does... First of all, I was like, I didn't even ever hear about this. You don't think if your babies were switched and then there was a big switched at birth story in that same town years later, you wouldn't be like, wonder what happened there.
Or you wouldn't contact them and be like, that also happened to me.
Right. You wouldn't be tuned in at all. Catherine asks how she knew, and she says, something just felt off. It's crazy. Can you believe I had this other baby and I didn't even like fully know? Isn't that wild? We were holding her and we didn't even know she wasn't ours. Anyway, they were only switched for 9 days, and then we never saw that other child again because she wasn't ours.
Yeah. And she's like, for 9 days. Can you believe it? 9 whole days I wasn't with my baby. For 9 days.
And Catherine is gobsmacked and crestfallen and very hurt.
Does she not realize what trial she's at?
No, I don't. Yeah, it just seems like this lady just walked in and was like, whatever, I'll talk about it. Doesn't know anything about the situation.
Yeah. We don't see her testify, but we do see Angelo testifying about the whole situation.
Yes.
And Jack Jason is interpreting for Daphne at this trial.
Who is that?
He's Melody's interpreter in real life. And he was also the ASL coach for Switch to Birth that I know of.
At least from season 2 on, Lizzie Weiss has said he was the sign language master.
He plays the interpreter for Daphne in the trial. Jack Jason.
Did not clock that. Good catch. Right as Angela's speaking, Regina walks in and comes and sits with Daphne. Something so frustrating about this is, I guess maybe Daphne didn't need her there, but like, Regina didn't want to go to support her daughter. The girls are both there in the box every
They were
day.
both switched. Her daughter was switched.
So she wouldn't want to be there as moral support for them, but she slides in as moral support. She slides in, sits next to Daphne to support Angelo.
I'm confused. I don't know.
Her priorities are so fucked up.
Yeah, Angelo just basically shares the whole story from start to finish.
He gives a very compelling testimony.
The jury is in love with him.
Angelo is a charmer, and he frames it so well. He's like, I was a wounded man. I thought the love of my life had betrayed me.
Yeah.
It ruined my whole life. Now I'm back trying to make amends, but I'll never get back those 17 years.
Yeah.
And he's right. And he says, I'm a stranger to Bay and Daphne now. And I'm a stranger to Regina, functionally. I do wonder, I feel like he should be a little bit more careful. Or like, why... if I were the other lawyer, I would bring up the fact that he and Regina just got married.
Yeah, I'm
Again?
confused. Can I call immigration?
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, it seems like it's going really well.
It's going well for him. And John and Catherine look at each other like, okay, this took a turn.
And then after Angelo's done, the court is like, okay, we're going to adjourn for the day, but we'd like to add one more witness to our list. The opposition, the hospital, would like to call Catherine to testify.
And Catherine's like, moi?
Yeah. My theory about this is they're going to try to rip her apart and be like, how did you not know? Isn't that crazy? Because Regina knew.
The point is, guys, you switched them at birth in the first place.
Yeah. Babies all kind of fucking look the same.
And
unless you were Kara, and then you look exactly like yourself. It's crazy.
I know I do.
It's so cute.
But Catherine's going to testify on Monday because it's Friday afternoon and they're done. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, that'll be next episode.
Which is the finale.
Which is the finale, and it's important for us to note, guys, that after we finish this season, we're going on break for the summer.
We are.
So we will see you back in the fall, but after the next episode, we're going on summer break.
We'll be active on email and social media and whatever.
Yeah, we'll still be around promoting the whole first season of dishedatbirth. Daphne goes straight from court, it seems, in her court clothes to seduce Chef Jeff. She shows up at his house.
He opens the door and she goes, I know you want to be smart, but I don't want us to miss out on something good just because the two of us were scared. And then this works. He goes, come on in.
Come on in, and they kiss. Daphne is wearing, I think, one of the first ever colors I've seen her in that she looks really good in. She's wearing like an orangey yellow cardigan, which is not sexy, but just the color makes her hair really pop, so she looks really pretty. And then like a random floral dress, but it's like kind of short. Honestly, I feel like she's dressed less conservative for court than she is for just like a random Tuesday at school.
Odd.
So that's confusing. Like, it's an above the knee dress, but she looks nice enough in it. They have been exclusively putting Chef Jeff in dark gray or maroon slight V-neck t-shirts. I think they genuinely just have 2 different shirts for him, and that's it. And
Probably.
then his like chef outfit, his little chef costume.
Do you think they had sex?
Yes. I think that's, I mean, so they kiss and then she shuts the door.
Yeah, the front door closes and it's implied that
Something's going down.
something happened.
I don't really want to think about it too much, if I'm being honest. And hopefully we don't have to dwell on it in the next episode, but I have a feeling we will.
At Buckner, Bay returns the money to Simone because I think what happens is Catherine is going to pay and then Bay is just going to work it off. So she returns the money to Simone, and they have like this weird exchange where Simone is trying to figure out why she needed the money in the first place. And she's like, come on, just talk to me. Just tell me.
Yeah, I'm not going to judge you. It's like, maybe she just doesn't want to fucking talk to you because
But
you
then-
suck.
But then Bay does say like, no, I made a mistake. And now my parents are really mad at me and I have to beg for forgiveness. So I guess now I understand what that's like.
Their situations are not similar enough
No.
for her to be drawing comparisons, but whatever. Bae goes home and her parents are waiting to ambush her in the kitchen. John tries to be like, anything you want to tell me? And Bae's like, well, I'm guessing Mom already told you.
This scared the shit out of me.
I know, I was sweating for her. This would have been a great chance, Bae, for you to explain what happened to your dad in your own words from your own perspective instead of just being like, well, Mom already told you that I messed up. Like, he is trying to give you a chance to be like an adult about it.
And instead she is not.
No. And they yell at her and she tries to be like, well, you were nicer to Toby when he was in thousands of dollars of gambling debt. And that's probably because he's your flesh and blood son. But with me, and they're like, no, don't pull that. And I think they're right. It is different for Toby to be like, I have a gambling addiction, and I'm going to be like, he was never stealing money from them.
He stole the test.
He stole the test, and that was not good, but that wasn't from his parents. So it feels a little bit different. And he was in the debt, but he would ask his parents for the money to bail him out. And again, that was a debt, like a gambling addiction that he was suffering from. Not the same as like, it'd be more like if he stole that test to cover Wilkie's gambling addiction.
Right.
And then his parents would be like, why would you be helping this person who is not a good friend influence on you?
That makes sense.
Like, the betrayal is twofold. It's that she stole from them and also that she's hanging out with this person that they don't like, that they've advised her against hanging out with,
Right.
who's the person who got her into this mess to begin with. So Bae is completely in the wrong, and she's kind of being a brat about it. She's really being like, well, I'm going through trauma. And they're like, we've all been going through trauma. And like, you were like this before.
It's enough. Enough is enough.
And then she kind of storms out.
Yeah,
what
she's just like, screw your mom and dad. And then she storms out. And where does she go?
I don't know how they weren't like, we're taking your car keys, but they don't. And so
Great point.
Yeah. So she drives over to Zara's abandoned trailer lot and says, can I crash with you for a while? Bae, it's very reasonable that her parents are freaked out. Also, let's not forget, an episode and a half ago, you revealed to them that you've been doing illegal street art
Yes.
for years. So, like, maybe just take the L. Maybe just say, you know what? I fucked up. Let me work at the car wash a couple months. Keep a low profile.
I know. That's what Daphne did
Yeah,
when she lied about the hearing aids.
so true.
I was like,
The
all right.
episode ends with Bae showing up.
And Zara says, yeah, come in. And the camera pans out on this abandoned trailer park lot.
I think so much shit is gonna hit the fan in the finale.
I'm excited, though.
Me too.
Wow. Can you believe we've done,
30 episodes. It'll be 30 next week.
it will be 30 episodes of just one season, guys.
TV used to be different.
I think I like having 10 episodes a season.
No, that's insane.
It depends on the show.
All right. See you guys next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.